Well, fundamentalism, in other words, importance might not just be on a believing in God, not believing in God front, if you like, theological standpoint. It might be on the social ethics of caring for the deprived and the poor, compared to not caring. You could argue capitalism and socialism, something of this. And you could say that this divide is very fundamental in our society. In other words, the divide can be over anything you feel extremely strongly over. I mean, I've come across one vegan in particular who couldn't, in any sense, fellowship with a meat eater. He just felt that this was abhorrent. He just said, none of my friends are meat eaters, end of story. It didn't seem unreasonable to him at all. In fact, on the contrary, it seemed extremely rational. There's, as touching on the note of rationality, there is a tremendous tendency to disregard the rationality of anyone who holds something contrary to something you feel strongly about. How could they possibly be valuing this? It's the very foundation, in your view, of their irrationality. And they're dismissed accordingly. In wartime, our enemies are not just our enemies with different views. They're always madmen. They're Hitler, who's clearly deranged. So is Stalin. So is Saddam Hussein. Megalomaniacs. Well, they are from our definition. This is not to say our definition is invalid. It simply is dismissive. And perhaps too, we're dismissive of the poor. We're dismissive of the ignorant. We're dismissive of the unkind. If you like, those that don't care for the poor or animals or what have you. And to some, being dismissive is an obvious evil, and our values are accordingly, or attempt to be. Might fray a bit at the edges because there's some people we just can't be dismissive of, some things and so forth. A hyper concern for peace and harmony might be considered irrational, just as rationality in the extreme might be considered very unloving, very uncaring, and very ungodly. An obsession with law and worship of such, in the eyes of those that don't have such views, might be considered an irrational obsession too, and extremely unkind. Kindness can be viewed by others as dangerously near to being too extreme to be practical and realistic, and has bad consequences. A society that is not safe. In other words, a mismatch of values can become very significant, very important to people, because it becomes related to many issues, I suppose, and strongly so. We tend to try and search out a common ethics that's higher than such discordant values across communities or between communities. We try to appeal to some commonality of how things are, like we all value life and happiness. Probably all love at least our own children and family, have needs of food, safety, hope, and we try to appeal to these commonalities because I think there's a hope that they are fundamental, more fundamental than the issue that's dividing us, and will give us a drive and a motivation, a reason for avoiding the tragedy of the clashes that we have in our societies and relationships one with another. And that is the foundation of drive in a view like Marshall Rosenberg's nonviolent communication, understanding of things. Commend it to you. It attempts to be, well, as it sounds really, non-violent, in some sense respectful of the more fundamentality of life and the implications of such for harmony, as opposed to discordant repercussions upon us in our ways of living, talking especially, communicating, relating to each other. Bless him. Thank you, Heavenly Dad.